Hey, Eric.
Hey, John.
How was your week? I didn't ask you how you were doing tonight.
You threw me for a loop there.
how how you doing tonight, Eric?
I, I don't know now.
You asked me
I,
the same thing 113 times. What are you doing now? So,
yeah.
sorry.
No, I'm good. I'm actually doing really well. Um, I, uh, yeah, I'm doing fine. Nothing
Oh, well, you're
I
going from
feeling.
really well to fine. Oh, okay.
Nothing,
Pretty soon you'll be okay.
I'm awesome.
Ah,
I'm
well, I know.
great.
Oh, that's fantastic.
This is fabulous. I, no, I had a nice, relaxing weekend doing some stuff for myself, some projects I wanted to work on. So
That's
it was
cool.
a pleasant weekend.
Yeah, that's nice. We had a good weekend too. Let's see. Saturday, so I did a little bit of like wood turning Friday night and Saturday morning, which was fun. I posted a couple pictures on Twitter of the pens that I was making, and then
But those weren't wood turning though. They were. Is it still called wood turning if it's
not wood.
acrylic?
I guess I don't know. It's true. It was acrylic which basically you use the same tools, same techniques, everything else. It just smells kind of like burning plastic a little bit because that's pretty much what you're
Oh,
doing,
that's
I
a
guess.
pleasant smell.
Yeah, that's not so awesome. But yeah, I'll throw a picture in here for that. So that was cool. And then Saturday during the day, I did a bunch of my wife and I did a bunch of temporary fencing. I posted another picture last week sometime of a bunch of nice green grass with one of my dogs in it, and
That was a great shot.
it was a great shot. My wife took that shot.
You should submit that to the Apple photo contest.
Oh,
The shot on an iPhone.
that good? I don't know.
Oh, you would win the dog lover
Oh,
contingent.
okay. Well, lots of
You
people
know,
like dogs, and she is a pretty dog. And then the cool thing that we did this weekend, my wife and I at least, went to the symphony in Portland and to see pictures at an exhibition, which is a lovely piece. That was the headliner at least. But the funny
hmm
thing was, before intermission, they had solo violinist come in. I mean, he was playing with the orchestra, but he, sort of a special guest, comes in and plays a violin concerto. And his name was Augustin. I'm gonna mangle his last name, but Hadelich, Hadelich, and I don't think I've ever seen anyone play a violin like that. It was not actually sure how he was doing it. It was humanly impossible. So, but he was there. So, I don't know. My wife and I were looking at each other going, is he really? He must be doing what we think he's doing, but how is that possible? It's the sort of thing where he must have been playing like 30-second notes, and the bow was like moving like lightning, but yet he was also simultaneously plucking a second melody with his left hand with the fingers that weren't holding the strings that the bow was moving on. So,
Oh wow.
it was one of those things that was inhuman. Inhuman. This was at least that was what he came out and did his encore, and it was literally just him doing the encore,
hmm
and we were like, anyway, if you ever have a chance, go see Augustin Hadelich in concert. Or I haven't looked. I'm sure there's some YouTube videos. In fact, maybe I should look up what it was. And I couldn't understand what he said. He said something, had a relatively strong accent of what he was going to play. We couldn't hear him because he didn't have a microphone, and it's a big hall. And I think it was a Paganini or something. Anyway, so I don't even know what he was playing, but I can't even believe it was humanly possible. But anyway,
He has a YouTube channel.
he does.
Just
Of course, he
real
does.
time follow up.
Of
He
course
has
he
a
does.
YouTube channel.
Okay, so I'll have to go. Watch some of those. In fact, I'll have to point them out to my wife, and we can watch them because we came home and we were like, Do we get tickets for tomorrow so we can bring the boys down and they could see that? Because it was just too unbelievable. Anyway, that was the coolest thing this weekend. And then Sunday I had a bunch of stuff to do. I always have like a huge to-do list, but we just played hooky and went to the coast. It was a beautiful day. Beautiful days in February in Oregon. We've had a good number of them lately, but they don't always happen. So we just went and we had a great
Take advantage of them when you can.
Yeah, had to. It was good. So, all right. We should get into the actual episode part of this.
All right. Shall we start with Breach of the Week?
I see multiple breaches of the week. I know I threw at least one in, and then I think you must have put in. We have 3.
We have 3.
3, because all right. Well, the one that I threw in here was app used by Israel's ruling party leaked the personal data of all 6.5 million voters.
Bummer.
Right? The terrible part of this, well, there were a couple things. One of which was there was a comment in here that said that before elections, the parties are given data on all voters. Like, here you go. And then they're expected to delete it. They're expected to protect it and delete it after the election. Holy moly. Okay. I mean, it's not like all of our data is not in these data aggregators too, but anyway. But then the how the leak occurred is the bad part about this in my mind. Just because basically, if you went to the site that where they were able to display the voter info, you could view source on the site. So in web browsers, if you actually want to see what a web page looks like behind the scenes, you
view page source,
and you can actually see the HTML behind the scenes. And actually, you used to be able to do that. Well, you could do that for eons and eons and eons. I think all the way back to Netscape Navigator type days. But these days, there's also developer tools that you could do in Chrome and Safari, and that have actually even more powerful ways of seeing what's happening. Because these days, the page you're interacting with isn't really just a single HTML page. But regardless, if you view page source on this particular thing, you could see that there was a API or a URL to basically something that said show admin users. And if you basically it was get admins users. And if you went to that site, get admins users, it would happily return you a list of all of the administrator users and their passwords.
Nice.
Yeah.
And one convenient API.
Oh, leak my data here. So
there you go.
That was that one. 6.5 million, evidently all voters in Israel.
All right. Well, the second one, software error exposes the ID numbers for 1.26 million Danish citizens. That's kind of a bummer. So I assume that's something similar to leaking social security numbers here in the U.S.
Yep.
But the fun thing about this one is the error had been around for 5 years before anyone discovered it.
All right, so I read this one too, though, and the thing that I thought was crazy about this, not necessarily about the leak itself. They call them CPR numbers. I don't know what CPR stands for, but it's an overloaded field because it says that it's a 10-digit number, but the first 6 digits are the citizen's birth date. And the gender is the last digit. If it's odd, it's male. And if it's even, it's a female.
Huh.
It's like totally overloaded. You should use different variables for different things.
Alrighty.
Yeah. All right. What was the third one?
And then the last one is a prison inmate's sensitive data left exposed on leaky cloud bucket. So this one is an unsecured AWS S3 bucket. It was used by a company called Jailcore.
Jailcore.
Apparently it's software used by correctional facilities. So the researchers found this, told the company, didn't hear anything about it. So then they followed up and informed the Pentagon, I guess, because the Pentagon was also using this data, and then immediately the bucket was secured, as apparently after the Pentagon was notified.
Oh.
So there you go. Yet another breach of the week. This time, 3.
Did the text really say open S3 bucket natch?
Yes.
Natch. Oh, yes. Look at that. Naturally.
Of course.
Okay.
Naturally, that's what's going to happen.
Yep. That is what it is. Okay. Well, nice week for data breaches.
It's always a nice week.
Every day is data breach day. Yeah. All right. Well, how about a topic this week? What do you got for me?
So my topic this week is I noticed that Google has announced that they are going to start blocking mixed content downloads. So you go to a website that's HTTPS, but maybe it redirects you to download something from an HTTP website, so a non-secured website. Could be anything.
Yep.
So Google has basically outlined their roadmap for when they're going to start blocking. So right now, everybody has, I think, Chrome 80. I looked at my Chrome, and it's currently version 80. So they don't really have roadmaps for their, like, it's not like every month they release a new Chrome. They're just always releasing new updates to Chrome. But occasionally they'll update the big number. So in Chrome 81, you will start, they're starting with console warnings. So console warnings, you mentioned the developer tools that are available. If you were to, on any web page in the Chrome browser, you right-click in, I think it's inspect document. Is that right? Yeah, inspect. If you right-click and do inspect, you can go to the console and see it telling you. So it'll start in Chrome 81, it will start warning you that executables are from an HTTP site downloaded, or zips or ISOs or PDFs, Word docs, and then eventually it'll be images, MP3s, etc.
Right.
So that's happened in Chrome 81, which will be the next big release of Chrome coming. It'll show up in your browser eventually. And then in Chrome 82, you'll actually get a pop-up that warns you, hey, this is going to try to download these files. And then in Chrome 80, certain types of executables, there's a chart.
Mm-hmm.
So executables, it'll warn, and then in Chrome 83, it'll block them. In Chrome 83, it will also then start warning about zip files and ISO, I assume probably DMGs for Mac, image files, files that contain images of things. It'll start warning about those, and then in Chrome 84, it's going to block. And then other like PDFs and Word docs, it will, in Chrome 84, it'll start warning, and then it'll eventually block. And then finally, the images and audio files, which will be interesting for MP3s, because that's how most podcasts are MP3s. And I don't know if all podcast hosts do
they serve files over SSL?
HTTPS. Yeah, so I don't know. So that one's the furthest out. That one's Chrome 84. And I think even if you did by every couple months, there's a new big Chrome out. So probably in the next 6-7 months, when we hit Chrome 86, Chrome will just start blocking. Unless it is HTTPS, it's going to block everything, which will be good for security.
Mm-hmm.
But just something to keep an eye on for.
Yeah, I guess the rationale there is you're on a page where you can guarantee the source, but then they're going to link you to a page that doesn't ensure confidentiality or integrity because it's not using SSL. And so somebody could intercept and feed you a different file. You think you're downloading, my cool executable, my clean executable, my clean file.exe. And in reality, somebody's doing a ipso presto changeo replaceo on the wire.
Yep.
So yeah, that makes a little bit of sense. Let me actually just go to, we use Libsyn, and all of those links are HTTP, not HTTPS.
Yeah, so that's I'm assuming, and like a lot of the images, they'll reference images which are HTTP. So I would expect or hope at some point that they will start feeding stuff over HTTPS, or you won't be able to download it in a browser.
Yeah.
In the Chrome browser.
Yeah, I mean, that's true.
So.
It won't affect podcast players and stuff like that. But, yeah, that's a good call. I just looked at my Chrome about, though, and I'm running 79 still. 79.0.3945.
I'm on 80.0.3987.100.
Yeah, well, mine just flashed up with nearly up to date. Relaunch Chrome. No, thank you. No, thank you. Not until we're done with the podcast. Thank you very much.
There you go. All right, so that's what caught my eyeballs this week.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Well, I saw something last night that I was like, "Ooh, this is totally going to be my topic for this week. That'll be exciting, and it'll be hot off the wire." Which is a Intel vulnerability in their CSME, which is their oh gosh, I should remember what CSME stands for. Converged Management Engine, Security Management Engine, something like that. I don't remember what the C stands for. Sorry, but basically, it's the security engine that's built into the chip for providing some hardware security services. And the the thing is, so they released an update, and they have a vulnerability that has like a 8.3 CVSS score, which is high. It's a super high severity, but there's no details. I thought there would be details today. But there's no details. There's a ZDNet article, but it just basically quotes what the Intel advisory says. And the Intel advisory links to a CVE, but the CVE is just a boilerplate that says the CVE has been reserved, and it'll get updated once the once the disclosure happens.
So more details coming.
So this can't really be my real topic, but I guess I kind of want to put a placeholder in here, and then maybe we'll follow up on it later. But the comment on the advisory was a potential security vulnerability in CSME may allow escalation of privilege, denial of service, and information disclosure. Intel is releasing a firmware update to mitigate this potential vulnerability. So that's the thing. It's super high. Like I said, high severity, and patching firmware is rough. And generally, if you look at how many people upgrade their operating systems, let alone their firmware, it's not that great. So, this is likely to be a bad one. But it was reserved on August 3rd. The CVE was reserved on August 3rd. So they've had a few months.
What's that? 8 months ago?
Well, what is it?
7 months?
September, what is it? October, November, December, January. Call it 6.
6 months.
6 months ago. Sorry, I have to count my months on my fingers, evidently. But yeah, and it also said that it was found by an Intel employee. So it's also kind of like the WebEx advisory we talked about a couple weeks ago, where it's vulnerability. The vulnerability exists. They have a fix. They put the fix out. But anytime you put a fix out, people will look and see, well, what did they fix? And so you can't just hide behind putting a fix out. Right. You have to put a fix out and say, hey, it's really important that you upgrade. So anyway, maybe more to follow next week once more details are posted, and we'll see on that one. But I was kind of excited last night as I was reading Twitter, and I was seeing, hey, what's this about a Intel vulnerability? And this is going to be big tomorrow, blah, blah, blah. And it's still emerging. So the second thing I pulled out this week was about Emotet, which is a Trojan. So this is the second thing is an article from ZDNet, Catalan, of course. I think he writes half the articles in the industry. But so let's see. So this says Emotet is today's top malware threat, both in terms of quantity due to spam campaigns and risk, since they allow ransomware gangs to buy themselves access to the networks that they've infected. But what's different now is that there's an Emotet module that will brute force nearby Wi-Fi to try to hop between networks.
Oh.
So
Clever
girl. Yes.
Jurassic Park,
sorry. Yeah. So this is now a module that will attempt to brute force network passwords. So it has it said there were two internal lists of easy to guess passwords that are included inside the malware. And if it can brute force the network, what it's trying to do is trying to move laterally, get onto a nearby network. Just because it can get on the network doesn't mean it's got a foothold in there. Then it will further try to guess usernames and passwords of devices it can see on that other network. But essentially, this is you think in your home. Well, I guess I don't know how prevalent this is for sort of consumer infections, but in companies, many companies many companies have their offices in spaces that are near other companies, right? I mean, if you work for a large enough company, at least in a distributed environment, you probably don't have a lot of overlap between your Wi-Fi and the next building's Wi-Fi. But if you're in a multi-story building that has, different companies on different floors, or if you are in you work for a smaller company that, you might have, offices across the hall from each other, you could very easily be in range of multiple different companies' networks.
Well, at home too, right? I mean, not where you live. I don't think you have very many. If you show your Wi-Fi, you probably don't have very many rogue or other networks.
I have no Wi-Fi. Yeah. Nope.
I'm looking at my list. I have 11 that I can see in my neighborhoods that are within reach of me. And one
cannot
printer.
Fathom that. I can't. Oh, I've got. Oh, maybe I'll tell a funny story about a friend. Maybe printer. Oh, sorry. Sorry. So I got to tell this now because you're talking about. I have a friend who when his daughter was a teenager, she would connect to their neighbor's Wi-Fi when like he had locked her out of their own Wi-Fi. And so,
right. But
their neighbor's Wi-Fi was poorly secured. And so he just logged onto their admin page and blocked her MAC address on the neighbor's Wi-Fi because that was just the easiest thing to do. And like, that's probably not the right thing to do, but yeah, okay, I gotcha. Anyway, so okay, but the whole point though is, yeah, many people live or work in places where there's multiple Wi-Fi networks, and you're still in charge of your own security, and the guidance is basically don't use a easily guessed or guessable password. But this was an interesting evolution, I guess, of one of today's top threats that is programmatically moving laterally. And I mean, the thing is, this is stuff that's easy to stop, right? I mean, credential stuffing is the most naive way of trying to get into a network, but it works because you don't have rate limiting and you have simple passwords. Two easy things to fix.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking at my list and I know which neighbor is what network for at least one of them because it's his name. It's, Joe's network. Then there's a printer. Then there's a network called Margarita. There's a network called Netgear. I'm pretty sure that one may have a
default password,
forcible, easy password to go after. Then there's Ralph Macchio. I want to know which neighbor thinks Ralph Macchio is a good name for. And then there's, of course, pepperoni and sausage. So we have a pizza fan somewhere.
And they probably have two networks, or do you have two neighbors that are like having their favorite pizza duels?
Yeah, and then there's Poipu, which I think that's a place in Hawaii. So, and there's, of course, the ever-present Xfinity Wi-Fi, which if you're anywhere near any suburban area, you're going to have lots of Xfinity Wi-Fi. Anyways, yeah. Were one of my machines infected, I'm pretty sure it could laterally move to at least one or possibly more of my neighbors' networks.
Yeah.
I'm just, gonna guess.
Yeah, I would not take that bet. All right. Well, those are my articles for the week.
All right.
How about something fun? What you got for me?
All right. So my something fun is John Adams, one of our founding fathers here in the U.S., had a great quote, and it's prescient. No, it's applicable. It was on my mind in the last couple days that I've seen some stuff going on. And so here's the quote. There is nothing which I dread so much as a division of the Republic into two great parties, each arranged under its leader and concerting measures in opposition to each other. This, in my humble apprehension, is to be dreaded as the greatest political evil under our Constitution.
I think prescient might be a good word for that.
Well, as we all know, what he was referring to is people who like pineapple on their pizza and people who don't. Those are the two great parties. And clearly,
I am clearly on team pineapple.
Sorry, we were joking about this earlier. I cannot stand pineapple on pizza. I don't understand why that's a thing. And I've seen a couple things on Twitter this last week, and I was teasing you about it at some point too, because you are a pineapple guy.
I like pineapple. I like Hawaiian pizza. You bet.
So,
and in fact, the ironic thing is, I had that for dinner last night. Yes, I mean it was reheated pizza because we had it like Sunday or Monday. I don't know. Well, some other time in recent history. So that was particularly humorous because I had literally had it not 24 hours before.
I'm just gonna have to let it go because
be Elsa.
My wife loves pineapple Hawaiian pizza as well. She gets it every time, and I gotta go with it. But I just
just because she orders it doesn't mean you have to eat it.
No, I don't. No, we don't order.
To be clear,
we're two of us, and we don't order one pizza, and we don't even do 50-50 on a pizza. We get two separate pizzas because she doesn't want to have her pizza, infected
soiled
by my
pepperoni
and olives, and I don't want her pineapple infecting my pepperoni and olive and mushroom pizza. So. Anyways, there you go. That's my something fun. A great quote by our founding father about people who don't like pineapple on pizza and people who are wrong.
Well, I would agree with you, but then I'd be wrong too. So, okay, that is good. I wondered where you were going to go with that because I was like, that doesn't seem like something fun. So, all right. Well, I have, let's see, how are we doing on time? I have two minor something funs. But the first, I'll just like point people at, cause you just have to read this. This is, reviews on Amazon for a tungsten cube. There's so many fake reviews on Amazon. In fact, I saw a quote the other day that Amazon solved buying, but killed shopping, which I thought was a pretty concise way of putting it. But, amid all the fake reviews, there's the occasional review that just restores your faith in humanity. And this is one of them. So, I mean, I don't know who's selling a huge cube of tungsten on Amazon for $150 plus a whole bunch of shipping. But whoever wrote this review is awesome. So this is the title of it is "This Cube Cured My Mortality," and then it just goes uphill from there. So anyway, I can't do it justice, but
Yes, I read the whole thing. It's hilarious.
You got to read it. So I can hardly remember the days before I became a man of tungsten. How distant those days seem now. How burdened by the apparent heaviness of everyday objects. I laugh at the Philistines who still operate in a world devoid of tungsten, their shoulders thin and unempowered by the experience. So anyway, it cracked me the heck up. I laughed. I cried. I don't know. So I'll put the link in here. I saw this thing on Twitter. Sometimes it makes me laugh. So that's fantastic. But that was just kind of like an ancillary something fun. Because the other thing that I saw that I thought was just fantastic. And I thought this would stay like under the radar and be like geek culture joke. But I actually saw a segment on the Daily Show like the day after. I told my wife, oh my gosh, you wouldn't believe what this guy did. It was so funny. And she looked at me like, who cares? And then literally like within hours, it's coming on the Daily Show. And I'm like, I'm cool. See, I knew about this. Anyway, so like, this is a guy in, currently, I think it was Germany. Anyway,
Germany.
He got 99 cell phones, all of which were activated navigation in Google Maps on all of them, and put them in a red wagon and then wheeled them up and down the streets to cause traffic jams in Google Maps. And then was videoed, and there's videos and stuff out here that you can see this because Google programmatically determines whether a street, how fast you can go down a street based on the location and how other devices are moving along that. And so if you have a wagon full of 99 phones that are moving at like 2 miles an hour because they're being pulled behind a guy walking slowly, that Google will think, oh gosh, those cars, that traffic's not moving very fast. I better route people around it. And so you can see on the map that, a red line shows up where he's walking along, and yet he's walking down an empty street, just dragging behind a little red wagon full of activated cell phones, which as performance art is hilarious. And I thought that was fantastic. So I'll put the link in here. I thought that was a great use of, creativity, and it was fantastic.
Yeah. The best part was Google's response.
I liked it.
I did enjoy the one-liner in there.
The one about we haven't quite cracked traveling by wagon.
Right. Google responded and said, "Hey, we've launched the ability to distinguish between cars and motorcycles in a few countries, especially where motorcycles are a lot more prevalent. But they haven't." It said, the quote is, Though we haven't quite cracked traveling by wagon, we appreciate seeing creative uses of Google Maps like this, as it helps us make the maps work better over time." Anyways, I thought it was fun. It was
basically just hat tip. Well played. Yep. So I thought that was cool. All right, dude.
All right.
Call it a show.
Good stuff. Yep. Have a good night, John.
All right. I'll talk to you later. Bye, Eric.
All right. Bye.